Thanks for having me on the program. I'm Oleg Vornik, the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of DroneShield. DroneShield is a global leader in counter-drone solutions, detecting and taking down small drones around the world where they present an issue to human safety, security, and performing other nefarious roles. In this presentation, we'll talk about our recent results as well as the upcoming catalysts. As have mentioned during our half-annual presentation a couple of weeks ago, we have just released an all-time record high earnings as well as the revenues for the period ending the end of June 25. That has included 72 million in revenues as part of our 176 million in locked-in revenues for FY25. We run on December year end, as well as approximately $5 million of net profit before tax. Importantly, as part of that, the SaaS revenue has continued to increase to approximately $3.5 million for the half-annual period, and customer cash receipts have similarly been surging to an all-time high consistently with our revenue growth. The next slide 3 talks about some of these key metrics, but the main point here is that across all metrics of the business, so revenue, pipeline, as well as the underlying nature of the company, so the number of engineers, the R&D spend, the cash balance, and so on, the company is going through an incredible amount of strength as the backdrop of needing counter-drone solutions continues to rise rapidly. Speaking of the backdrop, so as we've all been seeing in the news, unfortunately, we are continuing to see geopolitical tensions increase, and I think everybody's realizing that global conflicts and wars are not about to go away anytime soon, and wars are being fought in an increasingly technological manner. So both drones and counter-drone solutions are being used all over the world in various conflicts. Ukraine, of course, has been the start of this and continues to be a significant use case of drones and counter-drone solutions, but we're now seeing this all around the world. DroneShield is present in about 70 countries, and when we look at the major theaters of our deployment, so across Asia Pacific, the US, South America, and so on, all of those places are seeing extensive use of drones and the requirement for counter-drone solutions. So the unique thing about drones and counter-drone compared to other defense articles like tanks, missiles, and so on, is that it's a very new technology, which means the market saturation is essentially zero. So anybody who's buying either drones or counter-drone solutions today is very new to this. They don't have enormous stocks, and they have urgent requirement to fulfill. And even if tomorrow there is peace in Ukraine, which I think we're all hoping for, that does not negate the need by military planners to fill extensive amount of both drones and counter-drone technologies in their arsenals for any future conflict, keeping in mind that defense is first and foremost about deterrence. Counter-drone is, we say, about a US $10 billion market. This TAM was done about maybe a few years ago by us, and we now actually think the number is much higher. But the main thing to keep in mind here is that the market penetration is very low to non-existent. And this is even before you go into the civilian sectors like data centers, airports, critical infrastructure, energy, and others, which we think will require a significant amount of counter-drone systems, and we expect that market to start shaping up over the next 2 years or so. A very quick recap on our solutions. So we do hardware and software within our hardware solutions, as well as on a standalone basis. So the dismounted being our RF Patrol body-worn drone detector, top left picture, drone guns, handheld jammers. So historically portables have been, or dismounted have been, the majority of our revenues. Now it's roughly half with our drone Sentry, so on the move and fixed site system. And then we have the Sentry Civ, which is our recently released product for civilian applications sold on subscription basis. Underneath the hardware is our software. So we do quarterly software updates for our drone detection devices. We also sell the command and control systems, which are a bit like operating windows for various counter-drone products, as well as we do electronic warfare work, which is software-based long-term contracts that we recently won an extension, $12 million contract for another 2 years. The aim over the next several years is to have many thousands of devices in the field, all receiving at least one, but ideally multiple families of software products on SaaS basis overlaid over the top of them. And importantly, there's also hardware refresh elements. So because the technology of the drones is developing so quickly, anybody buying counter-drone hardware today will very likely need to fully replace their hardware in about 4 or 5 years from now. So you have these hardware replacement cycles in the sort of 4 to 5 year horizon, as well as software updates every quarter, a bit like antivirus essentially. And then I'll finish with the summary of the recent highlights as well as the upcoming catalysts. So the recent highlights are all over the last 3 months. So on the capital structure, we've just been included into the ASX 200 index. Also, prior to that, Fidelity have become a substantial shareholder at about 9.5%. And also, we have been seeing more in terms of institutions taking interest and positions in the business. Historically, DroneShield has been a very retail business, and we still continue to have about 30,000 shareholders in Australia as well as globally. But as we get larger, we are becoming more institutionalized. The record HY25 revenue and profitability, what we just discussed before, launch of Sentry Civ. So as the civilian markets will likely become a significant drive of our revenues over the next couple of years, this is our foray into this space, as well as our main products, which will also serve purpose. So our main products are high performance and more expensive, like Drone Sentry, so geared for military applications. However, there are customers who are looking for more budget solutions, prisons and so on. So for them, Sentry Civ is the solution. LEN 156. So we have announced a phase 1 contract win for the portables, and we expect for there to be further contracts. And then importantly, from next year or thereabouts, we believe there's going to be the main rollout of LEN 156, which is the Australian Defence Force counter-drone program, and we believe we're well positioned with our solutions. On the R&D manufacturing capacity expansion, so that's from about 500 million a year to about 2.4 billion a year that we expect to complete by end of 2026. And some of the larger sales contracts, the 9.7 million Latin American contract, as well as of course, our largest ever sale in the DroneShield history, the $62 million European military contract. Now turning to the potential upcoming analysts, there are several brackets of those catalysts. So you have the individual material value contracts, so more of the likes of the $62 million European military contract. Noting we have about $2.3 billion pipeline with about 310 projects. Of them, there are a number of very large contracts, so 30 million or above. And some of them we anticipate to come in the near future, and we'll give market an update when that happens. Then in October, we'll be releasing our September quarterly investor 4C, as well as in January, the fourth quarter update. And these are basically the financial updates. On the tech front, focus on new gen software and hardware, with that focus of having SaaS on as many pieces of our hardware as possible, as well as the next generation of our hardware. On the operations milestones, we are seeing, as previously communicated to the market, setup of the European and the US manufacturing, and also completion of the expansion of Australian manufacturing and R&D. So we'll provide an update once those are done, as well as the expansion of our sales presence. So we recently set up our or beefed up our European sales presence and set up sales offices in Latin America as well as in Middle East. And that is already proving successful in terms of managing both customers and our distributors in the region. So we'll be continuing to invest in those. The M&A catalyst. So we are continuing to selectively, in a very disciplined manner, to look at buy-side opportunities which are of interest to us. We have been doing this now for a little while, and while we have not yet purchased a company which probably was going to be adjacent technology to what we're doing, we're continuing to look into potential suitable targets.